Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you again from the Cedar Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on. And later on is when the roundtable shows up, and we'll get into all sorts of controversy, so stay tuned for that. We have some great guests, some very important information coming your way throughout the half hour, including a discussion, understanding more about bladder cancer. We have so much to cover, but where we want to start is talking about middle school students, a skills gap, and those kind of things with an expert in the field. With me right now, Chris Huntley is manager of middle school programs for Say Yes Guilford. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Homegrown man from Greensboro, as we found out off camera, and good to have you. And we hear about this skills gap. In fact, you emailed me something about it. So what is it? Why does it exist? What do you mean by it?
Well, to be honest, the skills are there. We believe that the Guilford County Schools students have the skills. What we're trying to do is expose them to how to put those skills together with the opportunities that we're hopefully exposing them to.
Now, how is Say Yes Guilford really addressing that? Give me an example. How are you addressing that to try to fight the skills gap to accomplish that?
One of the ways that we're doing that is with one of our projects, which is U-Science. We've given this assessment to our students in Guilford County schools now since October, November, this past fall. And the students get a chance to take several brain teasers, if you will, to kind of really hone in on what those skills are. We've all seen some of those students who are great at doing puzzles, great at doing certain things with equations and math. And we try to expose them with those particular careers earlier on so they get a chance to see what opportunities are there.
Really nurture them. If they have those kind of interests early on, then you can nurture them, and then that grows into something, right?
It grows into something very tremendous.
There's something else you emailed me about. I want to find out about it. You said that there's a perfect pitch program. You called it the perfect pitch for middle schoolers. What is that all about?
We are currently using our pilot schools to an Entrepreneur I Am project, which is allowing 4 schools to challenge a problem, whether it be a product, whether it be a problem in business, to find a solution to. Kind of like a Shark Tank feel, if you will. And that allows the students to learn about entrepreneurship, learn about how to solve problems, and therefore, at the end of the pilot, we're hoping to have what we call that perfect pitch to see who can present the best out of those pilot schools.
That'll be great. That'll be great. And this is, again, for middle schoolers.
Correct.
Right, okay. Now, there's, I think you also said there's a new tool that you're rolling out that is going to benefit middle school students. What is that? When will it start? What are we talking about?
Very excited about our mobile innovation lab. It is coming before the end of this year. It is a mobile innovation lab bus that we are having fitted to do some STEM work, some hands-on opportunities for our students. We know that students have an interest in STEM. We know our students have an interest in several opportunities out there, but can't get to that particular destination. So we're going to bring that to them.
Wow. Now, I know you'll come back sometime and tell us more about it, but you're talking about outfitting this with things that are sort of like its own classroom type thing?
Correct. There will be curriculum opportunities. We will actually take this, and the students will have not only the opportunity to learn, but also put together whatever that particular project is.
I just think that's super. I can't wait to hear more about that. Now, on a personal note, why are you so passionate about working with, helping, and nurturing middle school students?
As a former educator and coach in high school, I always found students, when they got to me, I felt like they could have learned so much more or been prepared. We hear a lot of students who are not ready for that next level, whether it be career or college.
Right.
And I feel like middle school is that bridge to really figuring out how and where they want to go, whether that is college, whether that is career. And there's a lot of opportunities that we can get our students into if we keep them on that track.
What was I used to hear an old fellow talk about, an old educator who said, you know, if you miss the opportunity of working with kids when they're in the 7th and 8th grade, you can lose them.
I fully believe that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so thankful and happy to be in the position that I am.
Well, you're working for the right organization and the right CEO and president, and Wendy. Wendy's going to be on the show later on the roundtable, so we'll hear from her. Look, up on screen, sayyesguilford.org, and remember to put 2 Y's in there when you type it in, sayyesguilford.org, for all sorts of great information. Homegrown Chris Huntley doing a great job. Continue, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right. We'll be right back after that. Back now on Triad Today, and talk about a very serious topic of bladder cancer, and we do this with a first-time visitor who's very qualified and was willing to come down here and help us learn more about this serious topic. We're talking about Dr. Leighton Lee III, He's a urologist, Northern Regional Hospital, and a former Army medic. We are so glad to have you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What are some of the warning signs of bladder cancer?
Typically, the biggest warning sign we see is blood in the urine. It gets picked up a lot of times on annual exams. Sometimes patients obviously will see some visual blood as well.
Right.
But sometimes patients will also have symptoms such as frequency, urgency, burning, and oftentimes those symptoms don't go away with treatments or medications that we try to treat those with. So.
Right, and we'll get into some procedures and treatments in a second. Who is, would you say, is most at risk, or who is at risk for bladder cancer? Is there a particular group of people?
Men in general are about 4 times, or about a 4-to-1 ratio higher to have bladder cancer than women, so they're at risk. And obviously age is a risk factor. 90% of bladder cancers that we see are patients over 55. But the other big risk factor there would be tobacco smoking. So patients that smoke tobacco are about 3 times more likely to have bladder cancer.
You know, that's what I think a lot of people don't think about. They think, well, what in the world would that have to do with? I know that it can affect my lungs, but maybe not aware that smoking and heavy smoking can affect something like your bladder.
Patients are often shocked to find out that urologic cancers are a direct result from tobacco smoking.
And yet another good reason not to smoke. Now, if we didn't rehearse any of this, I'm just curious. I want to make sure I'm on firm ground here. If I think I've got some of these symptoms, whatever, say, gee, I saw, Dr. Lee on TV, and I'll just call. And we'll give a number in a minute. But is it something that generally you need to go through your primary physician and then you get a referral, or can people call you if they're worried about something, or what?
They could call us directly or get a referral, either way. Typically, most patients get referred to us because they're found to have blood in the urine, usually on annual exam,
right,
or they visually see blood in the urine.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, and I know that there's so many times you could see these things. It might be other things. It might not be bladder cancer, and yet, so that comes to what's going to happen if I go to your office. And I mean, what kind of workup would you do that can get us to understand more about it?
So typically, there are other reasons to have blood in the urine, right? So typically we would rule out any other things, simple things that might cause blood in the urine, gynecologic causes, some things like infection or, stones, things like that, right? Once those are taken off the table, if there's no explainable cause for it, typically the workup would be to get some kind of imaging of the kidneys and urinary tract. Depending on different factors, we might get an ultrasound, a CT, or MRI, and then we would bring the patient into the clinic to look into the bladder visually with a thing called a cystoscope. It's a little fiber optic scope to look.
Right, and if you get a confirmation at that point, give me an example of what a treatment might be.
So if we find something that looks, bladder cancer has a very typical look to it oftentimes. If we find something suspicious or concerning, we'll take them to the operating room through a special scope in the urethra. We'll actually resect that from the bladder wall. And then depending on depth of invasion, depends on what happens next. So
right,
about 50% of those cancers that we find are superficial, and patients just go on surveillance at that point if it's completely resected. And so every few months they'll get a scope in the office.
But once again, as with many things, don't wait. One of these symptoms you talk about, let's get in and let's get looked at. And that brings me to this. ChooseNorthern.org is a general website, but I also wanted to give a plug. 786-5144. That's the number you can get to Dr. Lee and my friend Dr. David Worley that you're partnering with now. Up in Mount Airy, and give them a call. Don't put this off. Don't think, well, maybe this will pass. Check it out if you think you have these symptoms. And appreciate you doing this. Will you come back sometime?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate having me.
Is it true that you used to operate on stuffed animals?
Yeah. At my last job, my friends are finding that hilarious that we put that in there.
Well, that wasn't recently.
But yes,
as a kid.
As a kid, I did used to do that, and so
I wanted to reassure the viewers.
Born to be a surgeon.
A stuffed animal surgeon. Yeah, I want to reassure everybody. It wasn't yesterday he was doing that. That was as a kid. Hey, Doc, thanks for everything, and seriously, thanks for all your help on this. Come back sometime, will you?
Yep.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and time to spend a few minutes with some of the good folks from Duke Energy. One who is a good old friend, I say old, he's younger than me, old friend of mine, and a new friend who's pretty well known in this area. On my immediate right, of course, I'm talking about Jimmy Flythe, who's Director of Government Community Relations for Central Region Duke Energy. And our special guest, first-time visitor to the show, Henning, who is Director of Government and Community Relations for the Eastern Triad region, which covers Guilford County and others for Duke Energy, also former chairperson of the Guilford County Commissioners. So we'll get into that in just a second. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks
glad
for
to be
having us.
here.
Jimmy, it's important, as you and I have talked about before, for Duke Energy to feel connected to local customers and transparency and everything else. Now, Hank he's a good guy to do that, right?
Exactly, yeah. I'm so pleased to have Hank on board to help us out here in the Triad. We're going to miss Davis Montgomery. Did a great year, worked 40 years for Duke Energy, so big shoes to fill. But I'm really pleased to have Hank on board just to connect us and help us stay connected to the communities in the eastern part of the Triad.
So, Hank, this is now officially the first year of your 40 years. We've just predicted you're going to be here for 40 years.
That's the plan.
That's right. What will your new role entail?
Well, it's going to be a lot of the same thing that Davis Montgomery did. And I wanted to mention him just to say what a great job he did. I got to know Davis while I was on the county commission and watched him help me with a lot of constituent needs and answer other questions with what was going on economic development-wise and so forth. So just shout out to Davis. I hope he enjoys his retirement. And like you say, 40 years from now, I'll be in the same spot.
That's right. How does we've talked about the Guilford County Commissioners and your experience there. A couple things I want to go into. One is, how does your past experience prepare you for doing this? I know you said you sort of watched how Davis operated and it helped in everything from local matters to energy savings to economic development issues and whatever. So you had to really paint a broad brush as a county commissioner and chairperson too. Talk about how you're going to bring that forward into what you're doing now.
No, it's a great question. And so I'm blessed because there's another aspect to my background too, in addition to working in local government and being around while the mega site was coming to fruition. And, we had a great announcement out at the airport, and there's a lot of great things happening in Rockingham and Randolph and Alamance, the other 3 counties. But from my private sector past, I've been in construction and energy-related field for 10 or 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for a great family company here in the Triad, Brady Train. And so we helped customers and governments too with a lot of energy efficiency needs, sustainability initiatives.
So you can come at this from a consumer standpoint, from a government standpoint, from a private business standpoint, which I think is good. So then let's circle back. Give me an example of, let's go back to the county commissioner thing. Sure. Give me an example of how something you would bring forward from that experience.
Well, just knowing the needs of everyone from elected officials and what they deal with on a day-to-day basis, the need of the county manager, the staff, all of the different levers that have to be pulled from the economic development aspect of it. Just understanding how the sausage is made, so to speak, and everything that goes into it from, communicating to the public, addressing their needs and concerns.
Which is very important. I mean, that comes out, the communication comes out like #1 issue. Very quickly, just a couple seconds left. You have a particular goal in mind that you would like to accomplish over the next few years?
Yeah, I want to do everything I can to make sure that this new Toyota plant gets up and running, and we're great partners with that, and we can just continue to build our community here in the Triad, bring more jobs, improve the standard of living even more, and
a plant is going to help electric vehicles. That helps everybody. Up on screen, duke-energy.com is a general website, and Jimmy's personal favorite website, generatingprogress.com. Remind us in a couple seconds why that's an important website.
Yeah, it's really a great place to kind of get the gee whiz kind of things that are going on at Duke Energy and things that we don't always think about that helps keep the power in our lives and keep us going.
I consider the two of you the power in my life.
Well, thank you.
I don't know what that are. Jimmy and Hank, thanks a lot. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, time to talk about success and how better to do that than to talk about a program that is helping entrepreneurs to be successful. With me right now, 2 first-time visitors to the show. Susan Morris is manager of something called Co-Horticulture of Agile City, Winston-Salem. And Demarius Simmons is the founder of Southern Drone Company. Good to see you all.
Thank you for having us.
Susan, remind us what Agile City is all about.
So Agile City is part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Winston-Salem. We support entrepreneurs and work with other support organizations to make sure that entrepreneurs and small businesses are successful in the Triad.
And we're looking at a success story right here. How does what Demarius is doing with his company, how does that sort of fit with your mission?
Sure. So one of our programs is the Venture Winston Grants, and that's where companies have been given $50,000 of non-equitable grants to build and grow their businesses. And we had a competition. One of the focus areas we wanted to focus on was aviation and flight, and Demarius and his company fit perfectly into that, and so he was selected as part of this year's cohort.
Of course, you can't fit perfectly into a drone because they're too. But now tell us again, and you know, great success you're already having. Of course, you get the Venture Winston grant. What's Southern Drone Company all about?
So Southern Drone Company, the way we excel is that we bridge the gap between drone and analytics, and we bridge that gap between that and forestry and ag. So we realized that a lot of farmers, they're at the crossroads of adapting new practices in order to keep up with the growing demand, and that's where we come in with our solution.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I never think about farmers and forestry industry as, but they're doing all sorts of surveys and things, and yet typically they've always been done on the ground. The surveys have been done on the ground. So how did you sort of figure out there was a need to do things from the air?
So essentially, we sat down and talked with several farmers and foresters throughout the southeastern United States, and we realized a lot of their practices were done manually. So, for example, when they do their assessments in order to, come up with inventory or to kind of do like health, they're only sampling less than 1% of their growing operation.
Wow.
So it made sense for us to say that, hey, what would take you weeks to do, we can cover hundreds and even thousands of acres inside a couple hours.
It sounds like an easy sell, but I know it's difficult sometimes to get people to accept new technology, but you're doing a great job of it so far. Speaking of new technology, when did you get the bug? When did you start trying to understand and learn and get excited about technology?
So it started with my time in the military. I joined at 18, and I was mostly did intel operations and drone operations there. So after 14 years of that, and that things kind of pushed down in Afghanistan, I transitioned, and here we have Southern Drone Company.
And using that expertise into the private sector, and any other, give me an example of another service, a way you might help me if I'm a farmer. We've talked about survey and looking at things. What's an example of something else you might do for me?
So another example is, I know inside the forestry industry, especially here in the Southeast, the pine trees are riddled with beetle infestations.
Yeah.
So the way farmers typically would go about this is if they detected it, they would cut down the entire operation, versus us, we're able to isolate the problematic areas.
Wow.
And just pinpoint what needs to be cut. So
Saves them a lot of money. Okay,
Exactly.
Now I understand. Okay, I'm not much on technology, but now I understand what you're doing. It's okay. So up on screen, agilecity.ws is the website that you'd like to go to. You might want to visit that. SouthernDroneCompany.com is the website to visit to learn more about what Demarius is doing. And a shout out to the good folks, David Mouse and his team at Inmar Intelligence. Inmar.com is their website. And very quickly, Susan, the next round where people might apply for a Venture Winston grant would happen when?
In 2023.
All right. Well, good luck to everybody. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but another quick shout out to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. Check out the website, check out the garden. Great stuff inside and out. And inside right now are some great, beautiful people. On my right, but always the political left, Okie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist, socially distanced behind him. The beautiful, talented CEO, president, and maybe future congresswoman, Wendy Poteet from, say, Guilford. Should I have said that? We don't know. Maybe governor. I don't know. And then next to her is Governor Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants.
You didn't put beautiful in my name.
Well, you're not beautiful. All right. Now, the first... all right. Now, recently, this is kind of a strange question because we don't usually do international affairs. Ukrainian President Zelensky said his country is in need of ammunition. So Our local NASCAR legend, Richard Childress, also owner of Childress Vineyards, very beautiful place, donated 1 million rounds of ammo. He donated 1 million rounds of ammo to Ukraine. In general, are you guys okay with a private citizen sending ammunition to a foreign country? Ogie?
Well, Jim, I'm not really. This will make people mad. I'm not a big fan of Childress. I have reasons for that. My question is he a registered arms dealer? What is he doing with 100 rounds of ammunition?
I don't know. Maybe you shoot things at the vineyard.
I understand his sentiment, and
grapes
I
down
agree
from the-
with the sentiment involved, but
Nice sentiment. I think
send
it's a
the
good
money to
sentiment.
some relief agency.
Yeah, but when
They got bullets, they need missiles.
well, they do missiles. But I mean, at least you're sending something substantive instead of just good wishes. Wendy, what do you think?
I don't know. I understand the sentiment, like Ogie said, and I agree with him trying to help Ukraine. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, what if a citizen decides to send 1 million rounds of ammunition to something that we don't support? So I
good
think
thought.
private citizens should stay out of the mix.
Good position. All right, Keith.
I think private citizens should be sending money for relief efforts. And I think that countries are probably under the ground using ammunition, sending ammunition, or they need fighter planes, no-fly zones. Private citizens should
Just
be
money.
helping with the relief
This
efforts.
money. All right, Forsyth County had $74 million in COVID stimulus money to spend. Last week it allocated $4.5 million on the arts, $2.2 million on an anti-gang intervention program. Don't want to spend a lot on this because a lot of time because it's a done deal. But I'm just wondering, are you okay with these allocations, or would you have preferred to maybe put more toward crime fighting and less toward the arts, or is it okay, Ogie?
No, I'm fine with giving that much money to the arts. There's probably money, anti-gang money already allocated, in place already. There's programs already in place for that, but that's fair, yeah.
Wendy?
I sit on the board of Piedmont Opera, so I appreciate the gift that was given by the county. But as a nonprofit leader, I do think that there are other social service issues that should have taken precedent.
Over the arts, Keith?
Yeah, I think you start with the social service issues. I mean, the gang thing I think is okay, but there's other homeless issues and things that are going on that need that money, and I think that's where they should be allocating that funds to.
And those funds may go to it. I was just singling out those two, so I'm sure that there's some allocations for those other things as well. Inmates at the Randolph Detention Center are suing the county because the only thing they get to read in jail is the Bible. The Sheriff's Department says it confiscated all other reading materials because sometimes drugs are smuggled in with magazines and newspapers. Are the jail officials acting okay and properly, or are they violating the prisoners' civil rights? Ogie?
That's a total cop-out, Jim. I happen to know, don't take this the wrong way, but I know how to smuggle dope in books into jail.
Well, I think we
But
are
also
taking that
know
the right way.
how easy it is for a deputy to go through a book and detect drugs. It takes 10 seconds.
So you think they should let them have any kind of reading
Yes,
material?
absolutely.
Wendy?
I agree with Ogie. There's probably people in there that want to read something other than the Bible, but if you can smuggle drugs in, you can probably bring it in the Bible too.
Keith Cranberry?
Most people aren't smuggling drugs in books. They're doing it in other ways. You're trying to punish people who are already being punished. Give them something that they can do while they're being incarcerated.
All right. A former Triad minister recently pled guilty to 13 counts of exploitation of a minor. He now blames the stress of the pandemic on his developing an addiction to child pornography. Now, guys, we know that defendants have blamed alcohol and drugs on just about everything else for their crimes. Do you think the COVID pandemic can be blamed for an addiction to child porn? Ogie?
I have a thing. I think it probably was a pre-existing condition before the pandemic hit.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's a cop-out too.
Cop out. Wendy?
I mean, criminal justice degree here. He has a right to whatever ridiculous defense he wants to put in place.
Ridiculous is the key. Key?
I think that he's going to find out when he gets to prison what an addiction is like.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to see what addictions are like when he get to prison.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pretty.
Ogie will be smuggling in some stitches and Band-Aids for him. In recent years, nearly 200,000 low-income North Carolinians had their driver's license suspended because they couldn't afford to pay outstanding traffic tickets. Now, one judge says those suspensions might have been unconstitutional once their driving privileges restored. Quickly, is the judge correct? Ogie?
Yeah, I think so. I have no problem with that at all. None at all.
Wendy, it could be a parking ticket, or it could be a speeding ticket, or reckless driving. I don't know. What do you think?
There's been a pandemic the last 2 years. There's been a moratorium on everything, so why not these things?
Keith Granberry.
I think absolutely that they should not be taking away their rights. Absolutely.
Get the driver's license.
Get the driver's license
restored.
back.
All right. Finally, a newlywed in New York has gone on social media to complain because she says it's weird that her new husband keeps his pajamas under his pillow during the day. Guys and gals, do you think it's okay for a man to keep his PJs under his pillow? Ogie.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? If that woman is complaining about his PJs under his pillow, that marriage is in trouble already.
She's high maintenance.
Yeah.
Wendy.
Single woman perspective, if I could have just the problem of pajamas under the pillow.
And that's it?
Yeah.
You're okay with everything? All right, Keith, what about the pajamas under the pillow?
The question is, why does he have pajamas? That's the question. There shouldn't be any pajamas at all.
Yeah, I knew the Keith Granberry nudity factor was going to come into. Well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. To be more politically correct, the Walt Disney Company is now making Minnie Mouse wear pantsuits instead of her traditional polka dot dress. What's the big deal? Said Mickey Mouse. I've been trying to get Minnie out of her dress for years.
There you go.
Do you know what that?
Keith does. Keith got it.
Yeah, for all of us,
I didn't get that.
Yeah,
I
for all
didn't
of
get
us
that.
here. I don't know who I am. We'll be back next.